Okay, good morning. It is now 11 o'clock, so we're going to resume the meeting. Welcome to all of those in attendance today. My name is Travis Archer, and I'm the manager of the Public Water Supply Group at the Department of Environmental Quality. Earlier, we heard from the Water Resources Board present the draft intended use plan for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, or CWSRF. Now we are transitioning to the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, or DWSRF. This public meeting is being held today to receive questions and comments on the state fiscal year 2021 intended use plan, or IUP. The IUP presents the proposed use of the federal fiscal year 2020 EPA grant for state fiscal year 2021 and lists proposed projects to be funded. Today, Eddie Randur, manager of the DWSRF section for DEQ, will present this IUP. Mr. Freeman, who we heard from earlier, will present the financial overview, which will then be followed by a question and answer session as well as public comment period. It's important to note that public comments will be accepted on this IUP through July 3rd. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Randur to begin the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. I want to welcome you to this virtual meeting to participate in this public meeting to discuss the draft fiscal year 2021 intended use plan, IUP, DEQ's Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, DWSRF. I am Eddie Randur. I am the engineering manager for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, and we are located at 707 North Robinson Avenue, Oklahoma City, on the 8th floor. Before we get started, I would like to recognize DWSRF management and staff that have assisted and contributed to this draft documents. For those that do not have access to the link of the draft documents, the link is posted in the Q&A box. So please use that link to access the documents if you'd like to look at it, review it, and provide us with any feedback. We'll appreciate that. So I'd like to recognize those that work on this draft IUP. Travis Archer, Public Water Supplies Group Engineering Manager, Vicky Reed, DWSRF Program Coordinator, Stephen Hoffman, DWSRF Project Engineer, Justin Hodge, DWSRF Project Engineer, Candy Thompson, DWSRF Project Engineer, Leslie Smith, the DWSRF Project Engineer, Brendan Bowman, Capacity Development Section Manager, Christy Roy, Environmental Coordinator, and Carol Maggett, the DWSRF Administrative Assistant, and the DWSRF and the OWRB staff that assisted us with the financial components of the document. So we appreciate their efforts as well. Just to kind of give you a brief history of the DWSRF program. The DWSRF program was created by the 1996 amendment to the Safe Drinking Water Act. To assist public water systems in financing the cost of replacement and repair of drinking water systems to maintain or achieve compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. The 1996 amendment to the Safe Drinking Water Act also mandated more stringent regulations for drinking water systems compliance. Some of these new regulations may be met with operational changes at drinking water treatment plants, but others will require construction upgrade, new plants, water wells, distribution lines, might be consolidation of the water systems or regionalization, and other measures to meet this this regulation. Construction is very costly, and that is the reason that Environmental Protection Agency included the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund program in the 1996 amendment to the Safe Drinking Water Act. To implement this, the DEQ entered into the most current operation agreements with the EPA, and by EPA, so that, just for those of us who will using this, that's the Environmental Protection Agency, for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund program in 1999, and it has been amended a couple times since. And further entered into an interagency agreement with the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, OWRB, to manage a separate DWSRF account. The OWRB manages the financial side of the program, acting as the banker, and the ODEQ manages the technical side of the program. How the DWSRF program works? Well, the way it works is that the state of Oklahoma received a capitalization grant each year through EPA. The amount that we received as Oklahoma is based upon an infrastructure needs survey conducted every 4 years. The needs survey is it was conducted, it was in 2015, and based on the outcome of the needs survey, the state get what I would call a portion of the pie that is allotted nationally. The infrastructure needs survey is underway, but it encountered some setback due to COVID-19. So we're hoping when things are back to normal that we resume that effort. The state of Oklahoma also matches that capitalization grants by 20%, which is then added to the capitalization grant, increasing the amount that is available to be loaned out. Also, the monies left over from previous year and any interest earning are added to the capitalization grant, increasing the amount even further. And that is for those that have looked at the draft document, it is table 1. And I'm sure that Mr. Freeman, once he'll get the chance to talk about the financial aspect of the program, may touch on that. The DWSRF capitalization grant is leveraged to enable Oklahoma to fund more needed projects. Another component of the capitalization grant is the DWSRF program allows DEQ to take up to 31% of the capitalization grant as a set aside. There are 4 types of set asides. There is a 4%, that's for the DWSRF administration, and the 2%, and it is for small system technical assistance, and the 10%, it is for state program management, and 15% is for local assistance and other state program. In that 15%, we fund, some of you as borrowers may have been assisted through a Oklahoma Rural Water Association's contract that we have in place for leak detection and water loss. So those kind of programs are funded through the set asides. Some of the specific information about the DWSRF loan. The DEQ and OWRB may provide up to 30 years and not to exceed 40 years, provided that the life of the or the useful life of the asset, the proposed project, is that 40 years. The 40 is that 30 years. The 40 years, it is reserved for disadvantaged communities. A disadvantaged community means those communities which a median household income that is 85% of the national median household income according to the United States Census Bureau. Further, the DWSRF project priority systems provide for a priority point to be given to projects that benefit disadvantaged communities. And we have an additional subsidy that I'll talk about here in a little bit. Those or systems that are eligible for funding, municipalities and rural water districts. Corporations and private entities are not eligible, and that's by a state statute. Eligible project, either new or rehabilitation, such as treatment plants, distribution system, storage, source, consolidation, originalization, new systems. Another specific requirement to the SRF is the subsidization. Under the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, there are 2 types of the subsidizations. The 14%, which is just, for those that are familiar with the program, ever since that was introduced to the program back, I believe in 2010, it has been at 20%. With the upcoming capitalization grants, which we are doing the intended use plan for today, is 14%. Oklahoma has chosen to use this 14% subsidy to target systems with public health-based violations, primarily directed at water systems with disinfection byproduct violations, as well as regionalization and consolidation project. Previously, when that subsidy was at 20%, we were targeting regionalization and consolidation, and we had a tremendous success. We were able to assist more than a dozen Oklahoma communities and provided about $24 million in subsidy for this type of project. The second subsidy is the disadvantaged community subsidy. The Safe Drinking Water Act mandate that state use at least 6%, but not more than 35% of the capitalization grants amount for additional subsidy for state-defined disadvantaged community, which I previously defined, and the definition is listed in the draft IUP as well. The way we're doing it is that either we 25% or $100,000, whichever is less, for project costing $300,000 or more. However, for project costing less than $300,000, the amount of the subsidy will be decided on a case-by-case basis. Priority will be given to communities serving 10,000 people or fewer. I'm going to say this one more time because it can be confusing. So those communities that do meet the definition of disadvantaged community may qualify for up to 25% or $100,000, whichever is less, if the project is costing $300,000 or more. But if the project is less than $300,000, then the amount of the subsidy will be decided on a case-by-case basis. And again, the priority will be given to communities serving 10,000 people or fewer. So that was the first specific requirement. Second is sustainability. It is a requirement that all SRF programs focus on methods to ensure that water and wastewater systems are sustainable. The Drinking Water State Revolving Fund program is and will continue utilizing its capacity development section to ensure that systems have technical, managerial, and financial capacity, which will be beneficial to the environment, to environment sustainability. The third requirement is state reporting. EPA has imposed several new reporting requirements on the state to ensure transparency throughout the funding process. For applicants, an additional requirement for DUNS and Bradstreet number and registration in the SAM.gov must be completed. Fourth requirement is the American Iron and Steel. The Consolidation Appropriations Act of 2014 introduced the American Iron and Steel provisions, which requires the WSRF assistance recipient to use iron and steel products that are produced in the United States. This requirement applies to a project for the construction, alteration, maintenance, or repair of a public water system or a treatment works. The America's Water Infrastructure Act, known as AWIA of 2018, extend the AIS provision for the WSRF project throughout federal fiscal year 2023. We are treating it as if it is here to stay. And I believe that it is permanent for the clean water side. It is through 2023 on the drinking water side. But I believe that the requirement is here to stay and probably will be permanent. And once that happens, we will update you on a future public meetings for the intended use plan. The fifth and the last requirement is Davis-Bacon. Tanya touched on this. The requirement is similar. So Davis-Bacon federal prevalent wage rate must be used for all construction funded under the DWSRF program, and that's the through OWRB. We do have a software in place to kind of lessen the burden, so to speak, on the borrowers. Applying for the DWSRF and how it works. To apply for a loan, you need to send in writing to Vicky Reed, who is the DWSRF coordinator, a letter requesting to be placed on a funding list and stating who wants to apply, the name of consultant engineer, how much is needed, when it is needed, and what is it for. A DEQ Public Water Supply Enforcement District engineer will then rank your project according to the DWSRF ranking system. The DWSRF ranking system is attached to this draft IUP for those that want to look at it and see how we do that, which is a point system focused on public health. The more points you have, the higher on the fundable list you are. The detail of the priority system, as I mentioned, it is an Appendix A of this draft IUP. So once your project is placed on a priority list, then you are put on the that project, and you will be assigned a DWSRF project engineer that would work directly with your consultant engineer and parallel to the working with OWRB on a financial application to get your project to meet the definition of readiness to proceed. Once you're ready to proceed, your project will be going before the OWRB's board for approval. And shortly after that, we'll get a binding commitment, loan close in, and hopefully get you under construction. So this project priority list, or an Appendix B of the draft IUP, currently we have 47 projects totaling $181 million, $629,999. I want to note that the project priority list will change again by the time the final amended IUP is completed in July 2020. This is a dynamic document and is continuously changing. So because we don't have a time for an application, so we receive application throughout the year, we rank them. So obviously that this document is fluid and it would change. The comment period following the public comments will remain open until July 3rd, 2020. So we have essentially a month from today. So if you want to get your comments in, you'll have a month to do so. We will be glad to answer any question that you might have. I will take a little time, or sometimes after the the presentation, and we'll go through your question and answer them. I want to thank all of you for your time, and I will now turn it over to Mr. Joe Freeman, Chief of Financial Assistance Division of OWRB, to discuss financial plans and strategy. And as I said, we will answer your questions as soon as we get done through the presentation. Thank you, Joe.
Yep. Okay, sorry about that. I thought Bryce said I didn't need to unmute, so once again, I can't hear. But thank you, Travis, and thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that. And Eddie, thank you for the very informative comments that you made. I'm pleased to be here to visit with you about the financial aspects of the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and what we anticipate occurring this next year, or not occurring this next year, as it comes to the financing side of drinking water SRF loans. We really don't see any structural changes that are planned at the Water Board as it applies to drinking water SRF loans. We do plan on staying consistent with our interest rate modeling that we would use, and don't see any anticipated changes in that. Also, we will continue to manage the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund based on the capacity models for drinking water SRF loans on a 5-year basis, and which that will continue to leverage the program by utilizing debt issuance. Right now, we have approximately $36 million in cash on hand to fund additional draws and some potential other resources. But we are beginning the process for a debt issuance that will close later, potentially later this summer, end of August, into September. We'll monitor that very closely. We already have all service providers and necessary participants in place to fund the loan, to complete a bond issue. Right now, we are projecting that bond issue will be in the range of approximately $95 million. We've already received approval from the State Bond Oversight Council for that bond issuance, so we'll monitor it when the timing comes right that we will issue those bonds to continue to be able to fund drinking water SRF loans. With that, I thank each of you for your attention, and thank our partners at the Department of Environmental Quality for the great relationship that we have. Thank you very much.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to open it up for any questions that the attendees may have. Okay, it doesn't appear that we have any new questions that have been posted to the chat, and not hearing anything else, we will move to if somebody has a formal public comment that they would like to present. And this is just a reminder that the public comment period for the DWSRF draft IUP does stay open until July 3rd. So if you have anything and you come up with that, please submit those by July 3rd. Okay, we're not receiving any questions or comments. This concludes this public meeting for the draft IUP for the DWSRF section. Thank you.